Imagine this. You're an amazing woman with so much to offer, yet the men you attract never seem to be the right ones. They play games, avoid commitment, or don't appreciate your value. Why does this keep happening? And more importantly, how can you change it? Today, you're going to discover 5 powerful habits that attract the right kind of man, the one who respects you, values you, and sees you as a woman worth committing to. And trust me, the last habit I'll share is the most powerful of them all, yet almost no one talks about it. But before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed to Female Red Pill if you want real, unfiltered insights into relationships that go beyond the fairy tales. Then this is the place for you. Like this video, share it, and comment below, because today we're going deep into the truth about attraction. Let's start by breaking a common misconception. Many women believe that attraction is purely about looks, but that's not the whole picture. Yes, physical appearance matters, but what truly captivates a man long-term is something much deeper: your mindset, your energy, and the way you carry yourself. This is why 2 women can walk into a room, one conventionally attractive but insecure, and the other confident and self-assured. Guess which one captures attention effortlessly? The first habit that attracts the right kind of man is developing a strong sense of self-worth. This means you don't seek validation from men, you already know your value. A woman with strong self-worth doesn't tolerate disrespect. She doesn't settle for breadcrumbs. She doesn't chase after a man who isn't showing clear interest. And here's the key. High-value men can sense this. A man who is serious about a relationship is drawn to a woman who respects herself because it signals that she will demand the same from him. Robert Glover, in No More Mr. Nice Guy, explains how women are naturally drawn to men with strong identities. The same principle applies in reverse. A man who is worth your time, who is emotionally mature and ready for commitment, will gravitate towards a woman who is centered in her own value. On the other hand, men who are emotionally weak, indecisive, or just looking for something casual will be repelled by a woman with strong boundaries. Now ask yourself, do you let men dictate your value? Do you find yourself shrinking your standards just to keep someone around? If so, it's time to shift. Drop a comment below if you've ever found yourself in this trap. I guarantee you're not alone. The second habit is living with purpose. A woman who is deeply engaged in her own passions and goals becomes naturally magnetic. Why? Because she's not waiting for a man to give her life meaning. She already has one. The biggest mistake women make is centering their world around a relationship. When a man senses that your entire happiness depends on him, he feels pressured. But when he sees that you have your own ambitions, your own drive, he becomes intrigued. In The Rational Male, Rollo Tomassi talks about the importance of frame. Who controls the direction of the relationship? Women who are dependent on a relationship for their sense of fulfillment often fall into the trap of losing themselves. But high-value men don't want to be your purpose. They want to complement your life, not be the center of it. Think about the most captivating women, whether in history, media, or even in your own life. They are the ones who have a mission beyond just love and relationships. Whether it's their career, their art, or their personal growth, they radiate energy and passion. That energy is irresistible. So what drives you? What sets your soul on fire? If you're not sure, start exploring. Develop interests that go beyond relationships. The more engaged you are with your own life, the more attractive you become, not just to men, but to yourself. And remember, we're only getting started. The next habit is something most women overlook, yet it plays a massive role in attraction. It's not just about what you say, but how you communicate with a man that makes all the difference. The third habit that attracts the right kind of man is mastering the art of feminine communication. Most women don't realize that the way they communicate can either pull a man closer or push him away. And I'm not just talking about words. I'm talking about tone, body language, and energy. Think about this. A man walks into a room and 2 women approach him. One speaks with a tense, confrontational tone, constantly challenging everything he says. The other speaks with warmth, a touch of curiosity, and a playful, confident attitude. Who do you think he'll be drawn to? Dr. John Gottman, a renowned relationship psychologist, found that one of the biggest predictors of relationship success is how couples communicate, especially during conflict. Women who use harsh, critical, or defensive communication styles often push men away, even the ones who are interested in them. On the other hand, Women who express themselves with a balance of confidence and grace create an emotional environment where the right man feels safe to open up. But here's where most women go wrong. They assume that being strong means being aggressive, that setting boundaries means being cold, and that being feminine means being weak. None of that is true. In fact, one of the most powerful things you can do as a woman is learn to communicate in a way that commands respect without creating unnecessary conflict. So how do you do this? First, learn to speak in a way that inspires rather than criticizes. Instead of saying, "You never make time for me," say, "I love when we spend time together. It makes me feel close to you." See the difference? One sounds like an attack, the other invites connection. Second, use silence strategically. Many women feel the need to over-explain, over-justify, or fill every silence with words. But high-value men are drawn to women who are comfortable with pauses, who listen as much as they speak, and who allow space for attraction to build. Finally, understand the power of non-verbal communication. The way you look at a man, the way you smile, the way you carry yourself. These things speak louder than words. In the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene discusses how true influence often comes from subtlety rather than force. A woman who knows how to use her feminine energy to create connection rather than conflict becomes unforgettable. Now, here's a question for you. Have you ever noticed how some women effortlessly keep a man's attention while others struggle to hold it? What do you think makes the difference? Let me know in the comments. Moving on to the fourth habit. This one is a game changer because it determines whether a man sees you as a serious, long-term partner or just a casual fling. The fourth habit is selective vulnerability. What does that mean? It means knowing when to open up and when to hold back. Most women either overshare too soon or build walls so high that no man can connect with them. Both extremes push the right man away. Men are naturally drawn to mystery. If you reveal too much too soon, your past heartbreaks, your insecurities, your deepest fears, you risk overwhelming him before he's emotionally invested. On the other hand, if you never open up, he won't feel a deep connection. The key is balance. Brené Brown, one of the leading experts on vulnerability, explains that true emotional intimacy isn't about dumping your emotions on someone. It's about sharing in a way that builds trust over time. When a man sees that you're strong but also have depth, he becomes more invested in you emotionally. Here's a simple way to practice selective vulnerability. Instead of immediately revealing everything about your past, let the details unfold naturally over time. If he asks about your previous relationships, you don't have to go into a long explanation. A simple, "I've learned a lot from my past experiences, and I know what I'm looking for now," is enough. It keeps him intrigued while showing confidence. Another key aspect of selective vulnerability is how you handle your emotions. Women who lack emotional control often scare away high-value men. If you're constantly reactive, overly emotional, or dramatic, the right man will see it as a red flag. Instead, learn to process your emotions privately before bringing them into a conversation. A woman who can express her emotions maturely stands out from the rest. So ask yourself, do you reveal too much too soon? Or do you keep your walls so high that no man can get close to you? If you struggle with this, let me know in the comments. And now, we're about to get into the most important habit of all. This is the one that separates women who attract commitment from those who only attract short-term attention. It's the one thing that most women overlook, yet it has the power to completely shift the way men see you. The fifth and most powerful habit, the one that truly determines whether you attract the right kind of man or keep ending up with the wrong ones, is having a strong personal standard. This is where most women fail. They say they want a high-quality man, but when they meet someone who doesn't meet their standards, they make excuses. They lower their expectations. They tolerate behavior that they know, deep down, isn't acceptable. But here's the truth. The kind of man you attract is a reflection of what you tolerate. If you accept inconsistency, mixed signals, or half-hearted effort, you will continue attracting men who give you exactly that. If, on the other hand, you set a standard and actually stick to it, you will naturally filter out the wrong men while attracting the right ones. Think about it this way. Powerful, high-value men don't settle for mediocrity in their lives. They don't waste time on things that don't align with their goals. They don't compromise on their vision. And they are drawn to women who operate with the same mindset. This is something that Rollo Tomassi discusses in The Rational Male. He explains that a woman's frame, Her ability to maintain her own sense of value and direction determines whether a man sees her as an equal or as someone he can manipulate. If a woman is easily swayed by emotions, if she accepts less than what she truly wants, she loses the respect of high-value men. But when a woman has strong personal standards, when she refuses to settle, she commands respect without even asking for it. So what does this look like in practice? First, it means walking away when a man doesn't meet your standards, not threatening to walk away, not hoping he will change, actually leaving. If a man sees that you mean what you say, he will either step up or step aside, making room for someone better. Second, it means knowing what you bring to the table. A woman with high standards doesn't just demand excellence, she embodies it. She continuously works on herself, not for a man, but because she refuses to be anything less than her best self. She is disciplined, she takes care of her mind and body, and she has a life that she is proud of. And third, it means never letting loneliness or temporary feelings make you settle for less. This is where most women fail. They get impatient. They meet a man who is good enough and convince themselves that it's better than being alone. But settling never leads to true happiness. Now, here's something important to understand. When you raise your standards, you will lose people. Some men will pull away because they are not willing to meet your expectations, and that's a good thing. Let them go. The right man, the man who is truly worth your time, will not only meet your standards but will appreciate that you have them. So, let's do a reality check. Are you currently accepting behavior that doesn't align with what you truly want? Are you afraid to set boundaries because you think you might lose a man? If so, drop a comment below and share your experience. Now let's recap everything we've covered so far. First, we talked about self-worth, how the right man is naturally drawn to a woman who values herself and refuses to chase validation. Then, we explored living with purpose, how a woman who has her own passions and goals becomes instantly more attractive. Next, we uncovered the power of feminine communication, how speaking with confidence, warmth, and grace can make a man feel deeply connected to you. After that, we discussed selective vulnerability, how revealing just the right amount at the right time builds attraction and trust. And finally, we broke down the most important habit of all, having a strong personal standard, the key to filtering out the wrong men and attracting the right one. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually apply it in my life? How do I start attracting high-quality men today? That's exactly what we're going to dive into next. In this final section, I'm going to give you a step-by-step breakdown of how to start embodying these habits in your daily life. Because knowing the information isn't enough, you have to live it. Now that you understand the 5 habits that attract the right kind of man, the question is, how do you apply them in real life? Because knowing something isn't enough. Real change happens when you start living it. So let's break it down into actionable steps. First, develop unshakable self-worth. This starts with identifying where you've been seeking external validation. Do you feel the need for a man's approval to feel valuable? Do you stay in situations that don't serve you because you fear being alone? If so, it's time to shift your mindset. Write down your core values, what you truly believe you deserve in love and life. Every time you're faced with a decision in dating, ask yourself, does this align with my values? If not, you already have your answer. Second, build a life that excites you. If your happiness is dependent on whether a man is giving you attention, that's a sign that your life isn't full enough. Start investing in yourself, pursue your passions, develop new skills, and create a life that makes you feel fulfilled on your own. The irony? When you do this, the right man will be drawn to you effortlessly. A woman who is genuinely happy in her own life radiates an energy that is irresistible. Third, master the way you communicate. Pay attention to how you speak to men. Are you coming from a place of insecurity, trying to prove your worth? Or are you speaking from a place of confidence, knowing that the right man will recognize your value without you having to convince him? Start practicing the art of feminine communication. Speak less, listen more, and let your energy create attraction. Fourth, practice selective vulnerability. The next time you're getting to know a man, don't lay all your emotions and past experiences on the table right away. Instead, let things unfold naturally. Let him work to earn your trust. Remember, mystery is powerful. A man who is truly interested will want to get to know you over time. And finally, hold yourself to high standards. and stick to them. The next time you feel tempted to accept less than what you know you deserve, remind yourself, the kind of relationship I attract is a direct reflection of what I tolerate. If a man isn't treating you the way you want to be treated, don't negotiate. Walk away with confidence. Now here's the truth. Most women won't do this. They'll hear this advice, nod their heads, and then go back to the same patterns, making the same mistakes. But if you truly commit to these 5 habits, you will see a shift, not only in the kind of men you attract, but in the way you see yourself. So I want to challenge you. Which one of these habits do you need to work on the most? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're serious about transforming your love life, make sure you subscribe to Female Red Pill. We talk about the truths that no one else wants to tell you. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and check out these 2 videos on your screen now, because they will take your understanding of attraction and relationships even deeper. I'll see you in the next video.